Welcome back, everybody. Last couple days I've been posting some videos and some YouTube shorts about this Godzilla motor. Should I put it in my 95 Bronco or should I put it in the Fox body behind me? Unanimously, we're going to put it in the 95 Bronco. Let's talk about that Bronco for a second. So I picked it up 2 years ago. You guys have probably seen it in a couple videos. We put a Jeff's Bronco Graveyard Superflex 5.5 inch lift on it. Still dialing that in. I have a redhead steering box I need to put on it. It needs a new core support. It needs a lot of things, but mostly I want to give it more power. Now, the Supercharger is a Paxton unit. It's the self-contained model, so you just have to add oil. Every, probably, I don't know, 20,000 miles you need to rebuild these things. It's interesting that when I bought it, I started posting videos, and the previous owner, before the person I bought it from, told me, hey, that's my truck. I just sent it out to, God, I can't remember the name. It's something Wheels, Super Wheels or something. Anyway, it was sent out about 4 or 5 years ago to get rebuilt. And since I bought it, it's just been sitting around. I drive it occasionally. So the Supercharger is in fantastic shape. Now, we all know a stock 351 Windsor puts out, I don't know, 215 to 225 horsepower and a little bit more torque than that. Maybe 275 to 300 foot-pounds of torque. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, guys. I know I'm going to get roasted because I don't know too much about these anyway. That said, that Supercharger added probably 50 or 60 rear wheel horsepower. It's a very cool power adder. You can feel it. It's not just, oh, it's there and you go. I could roast the tires over, blah, blah, blah. It was a lot of fun. But I decided to step up to this thing. When we go to install this in that 95 Bronco, the core support is shot, the fenders are shot behind those wheel wells you'll see on it. So I will be putting in a core support I got from Jeff's Bronco Graveyard. I'm going to put a redhead steering box in. We're going to dial in the lift. I got some wonky stuff going on the lift, but that's my fault. Getting back to this motor. So this is something new for me. My friend Tony put one of these in a 5th generation Bronco. He said it's a lot of work and I'm biting off a lot more than I can chew, which is probably correct because I normally don't do this kind of stuff, but it's time to graduate my channel from here to the next level. It's interesting. I've noticed on this motor, if you're not familiar with it, again, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't worry about flaming me up. I want to learn as much as I can, but we've got a polymer intake manifold. We got aluminum heads. We've got a cast iron block because my magnet sticks to it. Interestingly enough, this magnet won't stick to these manifolds. They look like cast iron, so I don't know if they're cast stainless or if they're actually cast iron, but the magnet does not stick to these. Of course, it sticks to the heat shields. So a few things on this motor. On our 351 motors, the intake throttle body has two 2-inch holes. This has a hole that's about full intake hole. The throttle body of about 3 3/4 inches. It's massive. I can get my fist inside this hole. I believe they already make aftermarket units that are actually bigger. I know that you can buy aftermarket throttle bodies. I'm just getting into looking into what else can be purchased for this. I know LMR is going to be selling some components, some brackets. I know there's other Godzilla websites out there, or 7.3 websites, so I'll be hitting those up. If you know of any, please put them in the comment section. Now, when my buddy Tony put this in his truck, he happened to be a metal fabricator, so it was easy for him to make the engine mounts, everything else. So I'm going to be hitting him up. Tony, if you're watching this, I'm coming for you, dude. I need some help. As far as bolting stuff in, that should be pretty straightforward. I do have the control pack or the computer that came with this. I will need to get a auxiliary kit with that, probably a Terminator X, I was told. So I'll be looking to source one of those as well to control the engine and the transmission. Now, speaking of the transmission, this is the 2-wheel drive truck-based 6-speed. I'm not sure I'm going to use this transmission. Anything that will bolt up to a Coyote motor will bolt up to this motor. So it could be a stick, it could be a 10-speed automatic. I'm not sure. I haven't decided on that. Any input would be greatly appreciated. I also know I need to source the proper transfer case and drive shaft. So I'll be looking into that as well. I know I'll need a custom rear drive shaft. It's going to be really short because I've seen it on my buddy's truck. If you're a fan of the channel, you know that I do favor the 5th generation Broncos. I like them. 4th generation brick nose Broncos, I try to part out as fast as I can. I absolutely despise the way they look. I like the practicality of the interior, but as far as the trucks, I part them out as fast as I can. So you got a brick nose you don't want, call me up and I'll take it apart for you. Now, this engine did come with the Y pipe. I guess that will fit around the 5th generation cross member fairly well. I think it needs to be notched for something. I can't remember, but it needs to be notched for something, but it's relatively easy to do. As far as the transfer case, again, I'll need to source one from a truck. I can always order an Atlas case. The Atlas case would allow me to clock it in different positions, maybe to get a better drive shaft angle. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I know that those are $2,000 on up and there's a wait for them. So I'm trying to get this thing ready by the Eastern Super Celebration. I think it's sometime in May. Let's take a look at the components that came with this right now. Let's do a comparison right now. So this is a 1991 351 Windsor, and you can see the tiny little throttle bodies up there. Kind of small runners for the most part, but let's take a look at this motor, okay? Now, let's take a look at the Godzilla motor. I mean, it's big. It's a big pushrod motor. You can see the size of that throttle body. Let's walk around the side. I have air conditioning on my existing supercharged truck. I don't know if I'll be able to carry it over. I'm going to try. Because we live in Michigan and summers get hot. I usually don't drive it in the wintertime. I don't, the salt just eats these up. But you can see it's a massive assembly. Look at the size of the runners. I mean, probably put your arm in one of those. Let's take a look at some of the components that came with it. I've got a fan shroud. I've got a large fan, very big fan. I've also got the 2 drive shafts that came with it, the front drive shaft and the rear after the midship bearing or vice versa. We're not going to be using these because we're going in a 4-wheel drive truck. Now, we've also got the computer, which I will have to piggyback with a Terminator X or some other type of control pack to work with that computer. I already understand I'm going to have to do that and buy that. It's not going to be cheap. I also have the airbox. I have some snorkeling for the airbox. And really, one of the most important things, I think, besides the motor, is the Y pipe right here. This will actually clear the cross member in the 5th generation Bronco. I know it needs to be notched for something. I can't remember. I don't know if it's air conditioning. I don't know if it's power steering, but this Y pipe clears it. It's going to save a lot of time and money in fabricating. Plus, we already know it fits that motor. There's no guesswork. This is going to bolt right on. It came off these manifolds right here. So with all that said, I know I got my work cut out for me. Again, I've never done this kind of project before. I'm kind of stepping out of my comfort zone of the repair videos or the how-to videos. This is going to be a massive how-to video, so I hope I get a lot of help. I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of people. I'll probably be reaching out to you, the audience. But please remember to like, subscribe, share this video if you know anyone else that's going to start one of these endeavors. I'm really excited to get started. It's the middle of winter right here in Michigan, and I'd like to have this thing ready in 5 months. I'm being really optimistic that's going to happen, but I think if I get the right help, the right people at the right time, I think we can make this happen. But again, if you're interested in following along and watching just an average Joe mechanic like yourself cobble this into a Bronco, again, on the Bronco, we're going to be doing the core support. We're going to do some fenders. We're going to do some Tony Rojo headlights. A whole bunch of stuff's going to happen under the hood. We got to start somewhere. So like, subscribe, share, whatever. Put some comments in the comment section below. We'll see you next time.